This time we're going to go ahead and make the Jeep. We're going to make a new assembly. You also can come up to File, New, pick there and select from here, but we're going to pick a standard assembly. And we're going to place components, but we're not going to place from Content Center. We're going to place just from the regular place, so make sure you do that. Locate your files, and the first thing that we're going to bring in is the platform, because that's what we're going to build all around, and also that's the part that we'll want to ground when we come in. So I'm going to click Open, and it's going to bring it in, and you see how it brings it in quite large, and it comes at a different angle. What I'm going to do is right click and place Grounded at Origin, and then I'm going to hit Escape. And now I have that one object already put in there. And you notice over to the left in our model bar that I have a pin sticking down that notices that it's grounded. So now that part won't move. A lot of times your students will not do that. If they forget to do that, you'll need to come in and right click and come down to grounded and make it checked. Or sometimes they'll have multiple things grounded and you'll have to uncheck that. So we have the base component. So now I want to determine how I want to build this. So I'm going to place, and I'm going to start with the hood. Now, you don't have to start with the hood. There's several different ways to do that. However, that's the part that I'm going to bring in because that makes logical sense to me. So I'm going to bring in the hood, and I could bring in all the parts at once. Sometimes that's a little too busy for most of your students to have that screen. So I'm going to click on hood and go ahead and open that. And I bring it in. Now, if I click multiple times, I can put down lots of hoods. But I'm not going to at this point. I'm going to right click and click OK. So I can hit Escape, or I can right click and hit OK. So two different ways to get out of that mode. Also, you notice there's a work plane in the middle of this particular one, and I left that there on purpose because I wanted to show you a couple things. I can come over here and I can see that work plane, and then I can turn its visibility off, so that now I don't have to see that. If I needed it when I was making it, maybe I was mirroring some components, I could use it, but in this case I don't particularly need it. Another neat tool to use when you're putting things together is Free Move and Free Rotate. So I'm going to hit Free Rotate at this time because I want to see the bottom of that. So now I can see the bottom. Hit Escape, and then now I'm going to hit Constraint, or I can hit the letter C and it'll automatically bring constraints up there for me. So I want the bottom here to mate with the plate here. So I'm going to hit here, click, and hit on here, click, and you heard the sound of two parts mating. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that. Now if I hit Escape at this point, I can see that I can still move that part around, or if I hit cancel. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And you see it kind of moves around, but if I get it if I look here, see it's constrained to that part, and I can go ahead and I can move it all around, but it's going to stay mated. So I'm going to go back to my home view because I know I want this front flush with the front. So I'm going to hit C for constraint again. Constrain front flush, and sometimes you'll need to use your zoom to go in and boom, and then zoom back out. See, I did mate, but I really wanted to flush. See the different solution. The mate solution is going to be face to face, and this is going to be flush. But if you remember, we talked about when we were looking at the whole browser model bar earlier that it had an offset of 0.25. So I'm going to come to offset and type in 25 and see it offset it from there. So I'm going to apply that offset. And I'm not done because it still can move in this direction. I don't have all my degrees of freedom taken care of. So first thing I'm going to do, and if you look in the lower left-hand corner, it tells me to pick my first geometry to constrain. So I'm going to pick this plane, and I'm going to still have it set on flush solution, and zoom in, and pick, boom. And again, I want that offset, so I'm going to go ahead and type in 0.25. Hit apply, and I'm going to hit cancel, and then zoom back out. And now if I try to move that, it won't move because the base platform is grounded, and this is now attached to it itself. So now we've got part of the Jeep all up and ready. So let's go ahead and look at some of the other things that we want to add. I'm going to go ahead and close this for right now. So I collapsed the hood so I don't look my browser bar doesn't look too busy. So now I'm going to go ahead and place some more components. So let's look down in here and see what else we have. we have the axle, we have the bucket seats, we got the headlights. So let's start with our headlights. Let's open that, and let's put 2 of those in. So we have 2. Let's hit OK. And then if we go and use free rotate, I can rotate individual ones. And they really don't have a stick pin. I would probably, if I was designing this, my students, I want them designed for manufacturing, but it doesn't really have one. So now I'm going to constrain it. So I'm going to hit C or click up here for constrain. And this time I'm going to use insert. There's 2 types. There's the aligned and opposed. And you'll see if you pick the wrong thing how it works. So I'm now going to pick the base of that headlight. Then I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to put it all the way to the back. And boom. And apply. Now this next one I'm going to make a mistake on purpose that your students will often make. They'll click here. And on the second headlight I'm going to pick on the front. And see what happened? I put it in the wrong place. And if I go ahead and hit aligned, it's still not quite right. See, so you can see the difference between the 2 different types. So you're aligned and you're opposed. So opposed, it's going the opposite direction. Aligned is aligned with that particular circle. I'm going to hit cancel on that because that's not the place I want to do. I actually want to constrain it with an insert, but I want to make sure that I go all the way to that back portion. Sometimes you're going to have to really zoom in to make sure you get it picked. And there you go. So now I have it, hit apply and cancel. I'll zoom back out. And now we have those parts done. So now we'll go ahead and we'll look at the bottom, maybe put some blocks. See, I can move this all around. It allows me to pivot around. So now I want to go ahead and place. And let's see, we got the axle block, and we actually have 2 of those again. So I'm going to open, place both of those in there, and right click OK or escape. So I'm going to constrain that, mated to the bottom. Boom, you see it's mated, and I'm going to apply. And on that it was 1 inch flush from the front. So I'm going to click here and zoom in to make sure I get that front. And I'm going to make it 1 inch and apply. And if you need to move that, or you can minimize that, and I'm going to hit this one with flush still selected, and the flush from the side was 0.75, and apply. And now that one can't move. So now I'm going to zoom out and zoom in so I can get the other parts in here. So I'm going to constrain this, but I'm going to switch to mate again, and I'm going to apply. And this is the time when you want to rotate around so you can make sure you can see the back end, and you'll do this a lot when you're making assemblies. So I'm going to constrain this with a flush and back. Remember that offset is 1. Apply. And then I have 2 options here. I can make it this flush with that, and now those 2 are flush, and I know they're aligned. I also could have typed in an insert, but that's the way it was originally built, and I thought I'd just go ahead and show you how to do that. So now we have those parts already made. So now we got the starting to take a little bit of a shape, and we want to go ahead and start bringing in the other parts. So let's go ahead and place, and we have bucket seats, got the hood. I want to get the sides. So there's our side. I want to open it and place, and I have 2 sides. Okay. And then I'm going to free rotate this side because I want to mate that to this base. So I'm going to hit C for constrain, mate, mate. But don't worry about the fact it's not perfectly lined up yet, because I actually know that that's the case. So I'm going to apply, and then I hit free move, and see a little sticker. It shows me it's still connected, but it's allowing me to move that so I can rotate that around, because I want to see this part right here, because I want to constrain this to that part and apply. So now I've taken care of one of them, and then I'm going to rotate around and see it's not flush. So now I'm going to put the final one on there, and flush, flush, apply, and then I now have that part done. So we'll go ahead and go to the other side and go ahead and do that. So I'm going to hit free rotate, click on the part I want to rotate it around so I can see it, and make sure I get the bottom, constrain, apply. Notice I'm not worrying about the fact it's not lined up and looks kind of odd, because actually in this case it's going to help me because it set me up so I can see the two things that I want to mate. Apply, and then switch to flush, 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 apply. So let's go get that tailgate. So now I'm going to hit place, and let's find that tailgate. There she blows. Open. I only have one tailgate on this truck or Jeep. So now I'm going to free rotate that part so I can see the bottom. Zoom in to make my life easier. Hit C for constrain. Click, click. That's applied. I'm not worried about anything again because that's one constraint and it's still not a problem. And then I'm going to mate, and I'm going to apply that. Notice I'm still not concerned because I know what I want to do next, because I want to make this face flush with that. Let's see what that does. Oh no. Now see how it's got the wrong size? So maybe I need to mate that because of the way this was designed, that front. So I'll rotate around. I'm going to go back to 1. And hit 2. Let's see what that looks like. Oh wow, that tailgate doesn't look right, does it? So, it looks like I've made some mistakes there, and I've got to learn from those. And that's what's going to happen with you and your students. So let me kind of zoom in. I hit the pan, or I can use some of the shortcut keys, and we'll talk about those more. So whenever you get to a situation like that, sometimes what you want to do is, I want to keep that made, but you know, this one is causing me some grief. So I can just go in and delete that. And now I can see that's going to work out fine because I really want to place it in there like that. So what that means is I'm going to use my free rotate. Rotate this around. Now, so it'll move through the parts because this is Inventor. It's not the real world. So I want to constrain that so that this is mated with that. Apply. And now I'll use flush with this and the back and apply. So now it looks correct. So the point of showing you all that is your students sometimes will accidentally go ahead and put in some constraints that don't work. It's a lot easier to come over to your model bar and delete most of the constraints, if not all, and then start over. So that's what I'd highly recommend for you to do. So now let's look. We got most of it put together. We got to put the axles in there, and we got to put in some bucket seats. So let's go ahead and let's put in those bucket seats. So place bucket seats, and I want 2 of those, or 1 on each side. Escape. Now, again, using free rotate, and I use free rotate a lot, is I want to free rotate this one and this one, because eventually I'm going to do the same thing. Constrain this to the bottom, apply, and then let's look it back. Let's go ahead and make that with this one here, but I'm going to put in an offset. So let's see what 2 inches looks like. Nah, it doesn't look quite right. Let's try 2.5. Now, usually you'll have all these listed in at very specific locations, but I just want to show you how to do it. And let's say I messed up and accidentally did 1, and I hit apply. Uh-oh, that doesn't look right. So what I can do is come over here to my model bar, cancel. See that right there where it has the 1 inch? Click, and notice at the bottom it comes in there, and I'm going to type in 2.5. Hit enter. Boom. It automatically resets for me. So now I want one other constraint because that's going to move around a bit on me. I'm going to hit constrain. And the way they had it set up in there is here. It was right up against the edge in the example. If I wanted to put it off a little bit so I'd have a little room, I could put in 0.2 and see it offset it a little bit. So I'm going to hit apply, and I think I have it all fully constrained, but let me check. Yep, fully constrained. So, excuse me. So now I have that set up. So now I can do the same thing for the other one. So I have constrain, mate, apply. I want to make the back and this. And we set an offset of 2.5 for the other one, so we'll be consistent. And we'll apply. And then we had it mated this. And if you have vertigo, all this move around may get to you. But you can see how the process goes. Hit cancel. I'm going to hit the home button and zoom out. So now we have a good part of the Jeep put together. So now let's go ahead and put some axles in there. So we got an axle, and we need 2 of those. So bang, bang. I'm going to hit C for constrain. Hit insert this to that. Oh. Ah, that looks a little better. And I want to offset of 1.25. And it's going the wrong direction. So maybe it should have been this way. Well, that's not right. So you can see how we run into a little trouble when we're putting this together. Well, if I go back to this one, I can also make that a negative 1.25. So depending on how you assemble it, sometimes you'll use negatives, sometimes you use positives, and it all depends on where you click. So if I click on this one, now I'm ready to do negative 1.25. I have that on there, and we're done. So now let's go get some wheels. So again, place, and I want to go. We got our wheel, and so I also have a rim in there too. We can put in. So let's hit the wheel first, and open, and we're going to need 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's go ahead and constrain that by hitting C. I'm going to hit insert, and I want to get that part right in there, and I want to put it right on this wheel right there. Whoops, went the wrong direction. Oh, there we go. And then again, you got to figure out, do you want it right on the end? Do you want it offset? And it all depends on how you want it designed to put on there. For example, if I knew I wanted to make sure there was room for the rim, I might put 0.1 on there, depending on the depth of the rim. And remember, I can always go back and change that. So I hit apply. And later on, I'll show you how to do these with all kinds of different types of solutions. So you want to zoom in. You can see the little blue at the front. Zoom out. And I did a 0.1 on the other, so I'll just be consistent. So it allows you to do the other one. And we'll flip around to the other side. And notice these are going to be on the other end. So again, I'm going to probably do a free rotate to get those in the same orientation. I still could do it without the free rotate, but once the student or you get used to putting it together one way, it's probably better to be consistent in how you select it. So constrain, did an insert on this, whoops, flip it around. See, so there's several ways of doing this. So and I'm just kind of demonstrating all kinds of different ways just to get you used to it. So I'm going to zoom in, pick that, zoom out, and I'm showing you strict. Notice how I'm right over top of that. Now if I zoom in, see how it zooms in right where my cursor was? So when you zoom out, when you put that cursor and you use your roll, it'll actually roll in on where your cursor happens to be placed. I did 0.1 and apply. Now we can put some rims on this. And now, notice now, it rotates. All the wheels rotate. So now we're going to go ahead and flip it over and see we need a windshield and some rims, it looks like. So let's go ahead and place. And let's see if we can find those rims. And I'm going to open 4 of those. As I put them on the other side, just because I know that's where I'm going to go. Hit C for constrain. And it's key when I hit that insert that I go ahead and hit where I want to place it. See how I put the rims on there real nice and neat for me? And an inventor, because these it'll allow me to put them right on top of that. And now I have some rims in there. So let's go ahead and pop some rims in. You can see it's a very simple process. Now these rims, because of the way they're made, it doesn't make any difference which side I pick because they're just toy rims, and so they don't have, if it was important I had to have them facing a certain direction, I'd go ahead and obviously flip those around with free rotate. So I hit cancel, and now I want to go to place, and we're just about done. We got to put in, I think the windshield's the last thing we got to put in. There she blows. Open, place. I'm going to say OK. And let's look at how that, see how that windshield's made to make it look like it should have some things to insert, like I have little screws. Those weren't included on this particular thing. So let's kind of go ahead and place that in there. So you can go ahead and constrain. And let's see, would that make sense to have that mate with this part? That seems to do pretty good. So we'll apply. And then you want to look at that windshield. It looks like it needs to be flush. So you can see how it's built. But I'm also going to go ahead and pull that out because I know it needs to be, I'm going to free rotate that. Constrain. That. This needs to be mated with that. But I'm going to put in an offset. See, now it comes all the way up. So it looks in a good location for it. So it's an offset of 1. I apply that. And then we'll come offset that from here. But this one's going to be a flush. But I don't want it. See how it's on the other side there? Let's go ahead and rotate around. Yep, it lines up just perfect. So that was correct. So I go ahead and apply, cancel, and now I have my windshield in there. So I'm going to go back to home to get back to my isometric orientation. So I have a nice little thing going around and it all spins around. But we haven't really used the angle constraint. And maybe I want those wheels to actually rotate on command. So let's just do a little trick here. If I double click on that wheel, notice how everything else gets goes into kind of a ghost image. So now I know I'm just working on that wheel, and you see how it's grayed out over in the model block. So I'm working with this one. So now I might want to put a work plane in there. So this is going to be a little tricky part. So I want to make sure I can kind of get to my work plane. So if I open up my origin, see, this one was built such that it's going to allow me to just right click, turn on the visibility, and now I have a work plane that I can actually work with. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, return. Now when I zoom out, look at all of those have work planes. But notice, see how it was built? That work plane is not right in the middle, so that's not going to work for us. So I want to go back, double click on that. Now I come back over here, right click my visibility. So now I know I need to put a work axis in the middle. So let's kind of look at some of our options here. So I want to go ahead and put an axis in the middle. And now I want to come back over and put a work plane. So I go top work plane, figure out what orientation I want. That looks like the right one. Yep. And I'm going to say at 0 degrees. Check. Now I have it right in the middle. So when I return, now I have it right in the middle of that wheel. Now why did I do that? Well, I'd like for all these wheels to kind of turn together. So I'm going to go ahead and constrain. And this time I'm going to use an angle. And I'm going to pick the direct angle. And I'm going to pick that with that. Apply. Then I'm going to go to the other one. I want that one. Apply. And then eventually I'm going to come over to this one and rotate around so I get this one. Apply. So now I have used my angle work planes, and now they all turn together. And what I'll do next, in the next little video, we'll do a short one on how to actually drive those wheels together. But this is the minimum part. It shows you how to put it together, how to actually put a work axis in there, go ahead and edit in place, and put in some work planes, and also use the angle constraint. So that concludes this video.